Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danny Plugger, and I am the Executive Director of Virginians for High-Speed Rail. Happy Martin Luther King Day, and thanks for everyone for joining us on this holiday Monday. We have a great program for today's 2025 Virginia State of Rail Town Hall. And I especially want to thank DJ and Rich for joining us today. We are very excited about today's program and our entire Town Hall series. The purpose of these virtual Town Hall series is to give Virginians and our supporters the opportunity to hear from and engage with the leading transportation decision makers and thinkers in the room today. This town hall series would not be possible without the generosity of our sponsors, WSP, iCamera, and the FACE companies. Thank you for your support. Sponsorship opportunities are still available if you or your company are interested in supporting this series. And one bit of housekeeping. Please send your questions via the chat box at any point, and I'll address them to our speakers at the appropriate time. And know that this program will also be posted on our YouTube channel sometime later this week. I promise I won't steal too much thunder, but if you've been watching the rail news lately, you will have seen a lot of things that will get touched on today. But I want to share two quick facts. Since FY 2021, VRE's ridership is up 362%. And Virginia's Amtrak ridership is up 154%, including multiple record-breaking years. One thing is very clear. Virginians love their trains. And so with that, I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers today. DJ Stadtler was appointed Executive Director of VPRA in April 2021. He came to VPRA from Amtrak, where he spent 12 years serving in 3 different Executive Vice President roles as Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Administrative Officer. His 25 years of experience in the railroad industry also includes time at the Federal Railroad Administration, where he served as Deputy Chief Financial Officer, overseeing budget, accounting, procurement, and real estate. Rich Dalton, the CEO of Virginia Railway Express. He joined VRE in 2009 and has served in several capacities, including Director of Rail Equipment and Services, Deputy CEO, Chief Operating Officer, and Acting CEO before being appointed the permanent CEO in 2020. Prior to joining VRE, Mr. Dalton spent 20 years in the private sector, and in addition to his rail career, he is a United States Navy veteran who was forward deployed in various sea commands. So thank you again, DJ and Rich, for joining us. And this afternoon, we'll begin with DJ.
Super. Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am thrilled with the progress and the support that we've gotten from all of Virginia on what's going on in rail. So as Danny just mentioned, I'm DJ Stadtler. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. He did an overly flowery job of describing my background, so I'm going to have to talk to him about making that more brief in the future. But I just want to give a brief update of where we are. And look, I've done this presentation now a couple of times, and today is going to be a little different. I'm not going to talk about how VPRA was born, but I'm just going to give an update on what we did in 2024 and what we're looking at in 2025 and in the future. So if you go to the first slide, Danny, I just want to talk about, before we get into our results and our good news stories, I just want to make sure folks are aware why we're doing what we're doing. Coincidentally, just last week, a company called INRIX, which is a traffic tracking company, it's a company that tracks vehicle traffic, released their 2024 scorecard. And as you can see, the average DC, Maryland, Virginia commuter spent 62 hours stuck in traffic last year. That's just a week and a half work of wasted time over the course of a year just sitting in traffic. And as you know, when you're sitting in a car, you can't be texting, you can't be emailing, you can't be getting ready for work, reading reports, etc. You've got to be focused on the road. The train gives you a different opportunity. As you see on the slide, the national average for commuting time wasted was 43 hours, which is still egregiously high. But even with that, we are well above that average. This is just not about Northern Virginia, however. If you look at I-81, we also have delay problems there. 44% of all truck traffic in Virginia travels on 81, as you see. And there it's a little different because it's not an everyday 24-hour-a-day delay. It's a when something happens, when there's a random incident, all of a sudden you could be backed up for hours. And that's a different challenge because you can plan on taking 2 hours for your trip or 3 hours for your trip, but any given day, one incident can make that 2 hour trip a 4 or 5 hour trip. And our increase in passenger rail out there is another reason. This traffic is another reason why we're looking to add rail out there as well. So let's go to the next slide. We'll talk about some of the milestones. 2024 was a big year for us. I have said for years, even before I got to VPRA, that the most frustrating part about major capital projects is the planning. And let's just get it started. Let's just put a shovel in the ground. Let's get it going. I've learned as I've grown as a leader and as a project manager that planning time is incredibly important. And if you fail to plan on the front end, you're not going to have a successful project. It's going to bite you in the back end. But as you can see here, we broke ground on Long Bridge. Long Bridge, as you know, we broke into two separate packages, the North package and the South package. But on October 15th, we broke ground on this $2.3 billion project. As I think folks know, that's an 8-mile corridor that goes from Washington, D.C. Union Station, or I guess just south of that, the Font Plaza Station that Rich is working on. From there south through the D.C. area by the Salamander Hotel, which used to be the Mariner Hotel, across Washington Channel, across Ohio Drive, across Potomac River, and then it connects right to the Alexandria Fourth Track project right by that Long Bridge Aquatic Center. So that was a big deal, breaking ground on that. We're going to see a lot more construction as we move forward. It's a challenging project because you're going through a very busy part of DC, and there are hotels there, there are businesses there. Folks are very particular about nighttime work. So you'll see a lot of moving dirt there in the future, but we're thrilled to finally get that started. The other big announcement that we had in 2024, we had a new deal with Norfolk Southern. I'll talk a little bit more about this on the next slide, but we drastically changed the plan that we had to get passenger rail extended from Roanoke to the New River Valley. So Rich, why don't we just go to the next slide? Rich, Danny, if you go to the next slide, I'll talk about this in more detail. So our original plan was we were going to go from Roanoke to the New River Valley on the Virginian line, and that's a single track railroad that goes between those two cities or those two areas. And we had always wanted to go on the Norfolk Southern main line because it was a much more direct route. It's double tracked for the entire duration, and it's just a cleaner route. Unfortunately, back in 2021 and 2022, when we were negotiating with Norfolk Southern, they didn't have an appetite for us going on the main line. So Virginia purchased the Virginia line, and we started to look at upgrading that line and getting ready to bring passenger rail back to the New River Valley. Unfortunately, as we did that all-important design work, we found out that it was going to be much more expensive and take much longer. There was a mile-long tunnel. There still is a mile-long tunnel there that was not up to the safety standards that we're looking for passenger rail in 2024. And so the entire project was going to be much more expensive. We found a reasonable alternative that would stop us just to the east of that tunnel, but it was still going to take a very, very long time, and it was going to take a lot more money. So what we did in January 2024 is we went back to Norfolk Southern and we said, look, we're prepared to spend more money and take a longer time, but it's not an ideal situation for us in Norfolk Southern. We're really looking for a way that we can partner with you to get there faster and cheaper. Thankfully, they were amenable to have conversations. They had been very interested in selling the Manassas line, which is the line of railroad that they owned from just to the west of Alexandria out to Broad Run, which is where all the VPRA service is on the Manassas line. So we worked out a deal with them over the course of months that allowed us to give them the Virginia line back, Norfolk Southern, give Norfolk Southern the Virginia line back, purchase the Manassas line from them, so we would have control of the frequencies, both VPRA and Amtrak passenger on that Manassas line, and then also get our service from Roanoke to the New River Valley on the Norfolk Southern main line there. So what we're going to have no later than 2027 is service back to the Cambria location, which you see a rendering of it right there on the slide. That's the historic station that had passenger service from 1906 all the way to 1979. We purchased that from Norfolk Southern. We're going to be responsible. Norfolk Southern is doing the construction work for us, but we, VPRA, is responsible for getting that platform, that canopy, and getting service ready so we can get passenger rail back there again no later than 2027. So huge win for us. Everybody's excited about it. I'm the pessimist of the organization, as folks will tell you. I'm not ready to high five until that first train pulls out of there in 2027, but it's a great solution, and we're very optimistic. Construction's already started. Speaking of moving dirt, that building has been used as a Norfolk Southern maintenance of way depot for the last 30 years or so, 40 years or so. They have moved all of their people and stuff out of that, and they are creating just to the west of that, that's a total lie, just to the east of that, sorry, a brand new depot that they are going to use for their maintenance away folks, allowing this building to be once again used for passenger. So groundbreaking on the Long Bridge, making this deal and groundbreaking on this, just a huge win. And then sometime in the March timeframe, we are going to actually break ground on the platform up there at Cambridge Station. So big deal, just a huge, huge win for Virginia. We're really proud of that. So if we go to the next slide, we'll talk just a little bit more about additional 2024 milestones. Did a lot of station work. You know, one of the most important things we have in passenger rail is the customer experience, and that means a safe trip. That means an on-time trip, but it also means that they arrive and depart from a nice, safe, friendly location. And we have, over the course of this year, had a number of improvements, and this is working closely with Rich Dalton and the VPRA team to improve our stations. And I'll go from the bottom up. Quantico was a huge safety risk. There were folks that got off of VPRA trains there, really all trains there, that would run across the tracks to get to the train. Just not a safe situation. You would see your train there and you would say, oh, I don't want that train to leave without me. And you occasionally would lose sight of the fact that there are actually two tracks and there might be another train coming the other direction. So we've made enhancements there that they make it so you no longer have to run across. You've got the up and over, wider platforms. It's just a much better situation. Fredericksburg, similar situation. We extended the platform. We now have an exit. So when folks get off the train, they can take a stairway down towards the parking lot, as opposed to having to walk all the way around and across the street. Better lighting, just a much nicer situation. And then the last one, as you see pictured there, a brand new Newport News Transportation Center, which opened earlier this year. Intermodal, so you've got connections to buses and to transit, and just a much nicer way to get into the Hampton Roads area. We'll continue to do station work. One of the challenges, and I think I said this last time, that we have a number of stations still that are not compliant with the Americans with Disability Act. That's a huge, huge problem for us, and we're working aggressively to fix that, because so many of the folks that choose to take passenger rail have issues with mobility and need to have an accessible station. So we will continue to make progress on that as we go forward. We are starting to see the new Charger locomotives, the ALC 42 locomotives. They're much more reliable. We're using those on the Virginia service now, which has resulted in better on-time performance and better reliability. And then in November, just the last point here, we signed really a landmark agreement with Amtrak. They are accountable for providing a certain level of customer service standards, and we worked with them to develop what those standards are. And we now have an agreement with them where we work together to ensure that those standards are being met. 17 different standards, cleanliness, Wi-Fi, on-time performance, all different things that really have a huge, huge impact on customer service. They have been great partners. They are committed to making the service better for the passenger. And at the end of the day, the passenger pays for the service. Virginia pays and subsidizes that service. We need to make sure that we are getting the service that our passengers deserve. And this customer service standards agreement is the next step in getting that done. So a lot got done in 2024. If we shift to 2025, everything we did last year really leads into what we're looking to get done next year, or I guess now it's this year. We're already in January. Geez, time flies when you're old. So late last week, we had a board meeting. If you go to the next slide, please. We had a board meeting, and at that board meeting, our VPRA board approved the contract for our Long Bridge South package, and we selected our construction partner. We are going to be partnering with the Long Bridge Rail Partners joint venture for that South package. That's the package from just north of the Potomac River down to the Long Bridge Aquatic Center. We're going to continue the pre-construction work, and again, towards the end of this year, you'll see a lot more really towards the summer, you'll see a lot more of the construction work going on there. We also, as I said earlier, in March, are going to be groundbreaking on the platform at New River Valley, which is a huge deal. Construction is going to begin this spring. And then late spring, early summer, we're going to be selecting the construction partners for fourth track and for bypass. And we've already selected for bypass, but the construction partner for fourth track, and then beginning construction on both of those projects by the end of the year. Ridership, as Rich talked about. Rich, Danny, I'm killing you. Ridership, as Danny talked about, continues to grow. We had a dip in the last couple of months of 2024. September, October, and November, we did not beat the, give me a second, August, September, and October, we did not beat the prior year's service, which was an eye-opener because we had been setting new records every month. But then back in November, we once again set a record and we were above the previous year. So ridership continues to grow. We have great confidence that as long as we continue to provide safe, reliable service, we are going to continue to grow ridership. So quickly going to the next slide, if we will, I just want to thank folks. I mean, we're doing a lot of work, and folks all across the Commonwealth and really, in other states have reached out to offer support, offer criticism, which is great. Hey, here's something I think you could be doing better. At the end of the day, we are here to make the passenger service, really the transportation network in Virginia, more efficient. And we feel like we're doing good work. We have a lot more work in front of us, but our entire time of existence, we have focused on no surprises, and we're transparent and we're open, and we want to take feedback from as many folks as we can to just make this as good of a piece of the transportation network as possible. So again, thanks folks for all your support, and thank you, Danny, for all the support that you and your team have done, especially during the General Assembly and throughout the year, and look forward to continuing to work together.
Thank you, DJ. And Rich, you're up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And how about the next slide there, Danny? Let me just start here. This is just wanted to share leading into discussions about capital improvement projects and stuff. Just wanted to share what our 6-year capital improvement program looks like, at least from a financial standpoint. You have this in front of you, both in a table and a pie chart. Just and these are just broke down in the major categories. One thing that is very important to us is to ensure, in addition to having the ability to expand stations, expand our assets and stuff like that, is I'll just point you to that very, very top row, asset management. We've got to take care of what we already have out there, and that's a huge focus, has been a huge focus of ours for several years, and continues to be a huge focus of ours moving forward. So next slide, Danny. This map here basically shows our service territory, and just as a reminder for those that may not know the specific boundaries, if you will, we operate essentially 2 lines. The Fredericksburg line, which essentially parallels I-95 from Spotsylvania County all the way into Washington, D.C., and then the Manassas line, which parallels I-66 from Western Prince William County, or the Broad Run Airport Station, to the west. Our expansion program, as the previous slide denoted, has a mixed bag, if you will, in addition to expanded rolling stock. Essentially, we have projects, whether they're station rehabilitations, whether they're additional facilities, upgrades, enhancements, essentially happening across our entire network. So I don't believe there is one station that doesn't have a project going on, whether that's currently in the development stage or design stage, construction, etc. So very, very busy across the entire VRE network. Next slide. I know DJ did a great job teeing up the VPRA Manassas line purchase. I just wanted to put an exclamation point or even a finer point on specifically the benefits to VRE. Essentially, VRE operates in a tenant host environment, and albeit we've had very, very long, outstanding relationships with our hosts, specifically CSX and Norfolk Southern, as it relates to the Class One railroads, but with the various investments, not just at VRE, but with VPRA across the Commonwealth, we from a more so from a growth perspective, it's important to us essentially to get ourselves in a position where we control our destiny a little bit tighter, and of course that has to do with enhanced operating schedules, as again the infrastructure across the Commonwealth, specifically in the VRE territory, continues to get expanded. DJ talked to the Long Bridge or the 8 Mile Bridge. That just opens up a lot of opportunities for both, passenger and commuter rail. And so that the Manassas line purchase is very beneficial to VRE now and in the future as we embark more into a regional rail type service environment. Next slide, Danny. Just wanted to highlight some projects. This is all forward-looking across our system. Next slide. I'll just break these down. The Alexandria Station project. We're currently in the final design phase. Some key areas here. This is an opportunity for us. Again, DJ mentioned, station compliance as it relates to mobility, specifically ADA compliant, albeit the Alexandria station is ADA compliant. This project is essentially set up to enhance the mobility of our passengers, i.e., we'll be adding a couple of elevators, access via the existing tunnel that goes between tracks 3 and 2 right now. Longer platforms. If you've been at the Alexandria station, you likely notice that comparatively speaking, when you get off of a train at Alexandria on the westernmost platform, you've got an additional long step to get down to that platform. This project will actually raise that platform and make it equivalent from a distance above top of rail, equivalent to the track 2 or the east side platform. So a lot of enhancements there. Next slide, Danny. But the other project as it relates to the Alexandria station is VRE and VPRA, of course, in our partnership and in our need, if you will, to continue to collaborate on all these infrastructure projects. We've combined into the station project the replacement of the King and Commonwealth bridges. Those are something you probably wouldn't appreciate the need for that if from the station level, but if you ever exit an Amtrak or a VRE train at Alexandria and go into Old Town or even make a connection there with Metro or one of the bus companies, and walking specifically under King Street, you'll notice that there is a substandard bridge clearance, vertically speaking, and then of course just the access under those bridges is well, it's just dated. We'll put it that way. So that project will incorporate those bridge replacements, and when we come out the other side of this project, it'll be a very, very not only nice station, but a nice area to get to and from the station as well. Next slide. We have our Broad Run project here. It's in final design. This will, for those familiar with our Broad Run station, directly adjacent to the station is the Broad Run Maintenance and Storage Facility. So we're tackling a project there that allows us to expand storage at that maintenance and storage facility, but in order to do that, we're required to relocate the station platform. So we'll be moving that to the east, and expand that facility. There's again, kind of tying back into the VPRA's purchase of the Manassas line. There's from a growth perspective, a lot of growth projected adjacent to this facility, which is the Manassas Regional Airport. So all this timing wise is near perfect, if you will, over the next couple of years to be able to expand VRE service on the Manassas line, and just as important, expand our maintenance and storage capacity. Next slide. Crystal City. The Crystal City station continues to advance. We too are in the final design stage there. Just quickly, this will allow us to relocate our existing Crystal City station about 400 yards to the south. I think the diagram does a good job of depicting, how many partners are involved in this, including VPRA and of course Amtrak, CSX, etc. This project here will not only enable us collectively, Amtrak and VRE, to platform our trains there, but provides a world-class direct connection to DCA. So this is another project that will likely wrap up final design this year, and get out there and actually start moving some dirt. Going back to one of DJ's previous comments about moving dirt. Next slide. Franconia Springfield. Again, another station project that will expand the footprint slightly of the existing station, lengthen the platform on the west side, and of course, this project also will enable us to more directly integrate with the VPRA's additional track programs that are going in through this area as well. Next slide. And then the LaFont Station and Fourth Track project, the very northern tip of that 8-mile bridge continues to advance. We're in the development PE stage of that, but eventually this station here will be an island platform with 2 platform edges serving that platform both on the west and the east side. And there too is not just enhancements to the station, but immediately around the station for passenger mobility purposes. Next slide. Manassas Park. This project is in construction. This is actually a parking garage with a direct connection to the existing station platform that is scheduled to be completed at the end of this calendar year. And for those that aren't familiar with this location, this station parking garage is one of the final elements of a transit-oriented development town center that the city of Manassas Park has been developing over the last couple of years. So we're excited to be nearing completion of this project as well. And like I said, at the slated to be completed at the end of 2025. Next slide. Just wanted to end with similar to DJ. Hopefully, the projects that VRE continues to advance are very complementary, of course, to VPRA's projects. And at the end of the day, it's about the passenger experience, and we're really focused on enhancing that experience and enhancing the mobility efforts and stuff like that. I will just take this opportunity too, just to highlight, though, you know, we're very busy in these corridors, and we understand and appreciate the fact that we need to continue to operate trains safely, if you will, and perform these various projects within an active corridor and stuff like that. So, and you're going to be hearing myself, likely DJ, and others saying the same thing. Pardon the interruption for the next couple of years, but at the end of the day, once these projects are fully executed, it's one can only imagine, the different type of service both Amtrak and VRE can offer in this region. Something well advanced and well enhanced from what we're doing today. So that's my presentation.
Excellent. Thank you, Rich, and thank you, TJ. My first question is, how do either one of you find time to sleep? There seems to be a lot going on, a lot of projects, and a lot to keep an eye on. I can only imagine that y'all are getting very few hours.
Sleep is overrated.
Yeah, I mean, sleep's kind of a waste of time when you think about it. Don't get much done while you're sleeping.
I know we've heard about a few things coming down the pike, and so, for DJ, what are the next new Amtrak trains that are coming along? I know there's a handful that are supposed to be scheduled here soon.
Yeah, so you're talking about the Aero trains, and the Aero AIRO trains were purchased by Amtrak in partnership with the states to be used specifically on state-supported service. And they're brand new state-of-the-art trains. The biggest impact that they will have in Virginia is they're powered by dual mode engines. And what that means is that as many folks know, if you're going northbound, when you get to Washington, D.C., you enter electrified territory. So north of Washington, trains run on electricity. It's catenary poles, and there are wires above the trains. When you're headed north, you've got to stop in Washington, D.C. They've got to take the diesel engine off, put the electric engine back on, and then you head north. That transition, if it's done very well, I mean, you can do it in as quickly as 20 minutes. The schedule usually allows between 40 and 50 minutes for that. But it's a congested station. There is a lot of train movement there. There are also a lot of competing moves. So if there's one blip in this well choreographed kind of move, it can cause big problems. And it becomes even more challenging because when you're not hooked up to an engine, the bathrooms don't work. In the summer, the air conditioning doesn't work. In the winter, the heat doesn't work. It's not a great thing for the customer. These new trains are dual mode. So when you pull into Washington Union Station going northbound, the engineer hits a button, turns the diesel off, hits another button, and the pantograph goes up, connects the electricity, and it's ready to go. So you'll have a couple minutes of delay, not delay there. You'll have a couple minutes to wait there as the crew changes and as folks get off and folks get back on, but then you'll be on your way. Better for the customer, better for Washington Union Station, candidly, because train sitting there for half hour to an hour, and just better all around. Those trains are being manufactured by Siemens, and they are, the last I talked to Siemens, on schedule and looking good. The first trains that come off the assembly line are going to go to the Pacific Northwest because the Cascade service in Washington State and Oregon State used to be run using Talgo service. Talgo service has gone away. And so the first trains will be going there. We're told that they will arrive as early as 2026. We in Virginia should start seeing those trains in 2027. It's important to note that we're not going to wake up one morning, those of you that sleep, and see, oh, look, they're all brand new trains. They're going to be coming into our service one at a time. So you may be in a situation where the train you ride from Fredericksburg, let's say, down to Newport News on a Tuesday is a brand new Aero train, but then the following Tuesday, that same train is an Amfleet still. So it's going to be a transition. But to answer your questions in fewer than 1,000 words, we expect to see them in Virginia in 2027. Starting in 2027 with the full component of them here by 2029, 23.
Thank you, DJ. And Rich, we've heard a lot about potential weekend service on VRE, and I know I have several friends in the Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg region that are very excited about that. And can you give us an update on weekend service?
Sure. Let me just start with as part of the Transforming Rail in Virginia program. There are, I'll just say from a contractual standpoint, there will become slots, if you will, available to operate VRE service on both Saturdays and Sundays. That's after a series of, planned infrastructure improvements for those that follow along with TRV. Those are the phase one planned infrastructure improvements. So that's one milestone out there ahead of us. What we had contemplated is to potentially go out with a Saturday only service, operating a few VRE trains. Our operations board and subsequently our parent commissions have supported that. We're still working on exactly when a service like that could start. One of the things that one of the many things that we're juggling now is obviously for, to add some additional trains out there, VRE trains on a Saturday, and at the same time continue to advance these, infrastructure improvement projects, these track projects and stuff like that. We've got to ensure that we're not, essentially cannibalizing ourselves. So, those discussions will continue in the first part of the calendar year, and hopefully we could, provide some updates early spring on whether or not we'll actually be able to come out and do some level of a Saturday service ahead of what has already been contemplated in TRV from a contractual commitment standpoint. So,
thank you, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
And DJ, I know when all of Transforming Rail, which is multiple phases beyond 2030, the state will get some type of dispatching authority between DC to Richmond. With the purchase of the Manassas line, will that dispatching extend to that segment as well? I know it's a big issue that I hear about from the advocacy side, is just getting caught behind the freight train and the dispatching issues around that.
Yes, we have the same type of deal with the Manassas line purchase where for the next few years, the host railroad is going to continue to do the maintenance and the dispatching. But after a period of time, we have the opportunity to take over maintenance and have a different company do it and also take over dispatching. So yes, that will become our right, both on the Manassas line and on the RF&P.
Excellent.
And I agree with the folks that reach out to you. That's great news. I mean, that's a big deal because you talk about controlling your own destiny. That then we can't point the finger at anybody. We just, hey, we're in control of our own destiny.
Absolutely.
And partnering with Rich and the VRE folks is a huge part of that.
And I think it, from customer perspective, it creates a much more seamless system, getting into and out of DC in the Northeast for both VRE and Amtrak trains. And so very exciting news. Rich, I know you all had a big announcement earlier, or I guess later last year, the agreement with Mark. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what that portends for the future about cross-state compatibility and partnership?
Sure. Yeah, we're excited to actually reinstate an agreement that we had with Mark Trains that goes that was discontinued several years ago. Um, but just wanted to obviously as both VRE specifically, and then of course Mark Trains, as they basically look at um, you know expanded service and or just service modifications and stuff like that. I'll just say one of the internal objectives was to basically have a methodology between VRE and Mark Trains, to keep an eye on the fact that, there is that opportunity to have, VRE and Mark Train passengers cross honor in each one of our systems. Um, and so that was one of the objectives. Obviously, the other objective is to give the rider the flexibility or the opportunity to cross honor. Again, there's for a VRE passenger, cross you know cross honoring onto a Mark Trains, as long as they hold a multi-ride ticket. There is no charge, um, and essentially the other way around too is a Mark Trains rider could cross honor onto a VRE train. There's there's more opportunities right now in the schedules and stuff like that for VRE passengers, to cross honor onto a Mark train than there is Mark passengers on VRE trains. But again, just having the agreement in place, the commitment from both Virginia and Maryland, that to be mindful of as we continue to do service planning and service enhancements, that is an opportunity there. And so if it's a matter of moving a train schedule a few minutes one way or the other to better match up with a Mark train, we want to be able to do that. So,
Thank you, Rich.
mhm.
And DJ, can you give an update on the S line or Petersburg South?
Yeah, I should have included that because that's another 2025 goal. So we had a procurement out for a long time. We split that work, and it's basically from Richmond south to the North Carolina line. We split it into 6 segments, and we put out a procurement to have 6 different companies come in and do the design work, bring that to 30% design. And it could be one company doing all 6, or it could be 6 different companies. We have selected companies, and we are now just waiting for FRA to award the grant. I mean, the grant was awarded to obligate the grant, so we have the money to pay for it. But we expect that work to start very quickly after that grant is awarded. It's a very important piece of work because those segments need to be designed. But if you look at the northernmost segments, 1 and 2, the Appomattox River Bridge is there. And when we talk about choke points, and when we started transforming rail in Virginia, the Long Bridge was the choke point, and we are addressing that. As you go further down, you'll have the Occoquan River Bridge, and you'll have other choke points. Appomattox River Bridge is a huge choke point, and it's been looked at by CSX and by rail advocates for a long time. So getting that to 30% and understanding what that's going to cost and how long it's going to take is a big deal. So we're excited for that work to start hopefully in the next couple of months.
And one of the questions, and DJ, thank you for answering in the chat box, but I'll give you an opportunity to kind of talk to the public. How do you see the kind of change in the federal government happening today impacting rail, if at all?
Yeah, so I think it's going to impact rail. But as far as Virginia and VPRA and VRE, look, our stuff is funded well. We have all phase 1 and phase 2 projects are fully funded. We have, for the most part, been on time and on budget, and we will continue that. So as long as we keep on doing the right thing and getting more people to ride the trains, I don't think it'll have an impact at all. We're confident that we've gotten great support from Governor Youngkin, and I don't see any reason why that won't continue.
Thank you, DJ. And I will add on to that. The Surface Transportation Bill, IIJA, expires at the end of 2026. We have a lot of strong bipartisan support in Virginia. Congresswoman Kiggins, Congressman Scott, McClellan. Please be on the lookout. We will certainly be advocating for continued federal investment in rail and building on that bipartisan support. And so that will be an opportunity to get your voice heard. While all the projects today are fully funded, we want to ensure that there are adequate grant programs for rail and transit for the next phases 3 and 4 of transforming rail to allow all these great projects to continue and the benefits to impact Virginians positively. So please be on the lookout for that. I just wanted to tee that up as well as a great opportunity coming around the corner for getting involved. Rich, you kind of touched on in one of your slides about kind of higher level platforms. You all are beginning to invest in some of those, or higher platforms, I guess, on some of your stations. Can you discuss that work a little bit? That's one of the things that we hear a lot about as well.
Yeah, so we're investing in longer platforms.
Okay.
The higher platform, if you will, was a specific reference to the Alexandria station. Of course, we operate and will likely continue to operate, with the low-level platforms. I'll also state we do, our next generation of passenger cars, which we do have an order. We currently have an order for 21 of those cars to be delivered in 2027 to us. And that's a joint procurement we're doing with Chicago Metro. But those will be level boarding cars. In other words, if you're familiar with our Gallery 4 type passenger cars now, single side loading door, center side loading door, and then you walk up a couple of steps and that gets you on there. These will be, level with that low level platform. So again, just to be able to enhance the passenger experience, they won't have to climb up steps to get into the passenger compartment.
Okay. Thank you, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
And DJ, what is the status of the new Newport News train? We saw the new beautiful station. I think there's a third train coming down the track at some point in the future.
There is a third train that will be coming to Newport News. That will be coming no later than 2026. We're hoping to get that started as soon as possible because both Newport News and Norfolk have shown that if we put a train there, they will ride it. So no later than 2026, we're working with CSX and with Amtrak to get that in quickly.
All right, gentlemen, final question for both of you. How can we help? How can the public help? And what should we be aware of as all these construction projects start breaking ground and the quarter gets busy? Rich, I'll begin with you.
Just I'll start with the last part of your question. Yeah, it's the reality is, again, we're doing a lot of projects in and specifically in the VRE corridor when you take into account track projects plus, like I showed you that map, we're touching every station and stuff like that. So it's our focus, of course, is to advance or execute the projects, but not sacrificing safety both on the passenger, the public, the onboard train crews, and of course we'll have another element out there, and that's actually the folks out in the right of way doing that work. So it's just a slightly different environment to operate in. So patience is going to be the key. We of course will be working in partnership with VPRA and our other partners and stuff to if we need to do some schedule changes, if we need to do some temporary outages and stuff like that, it'll all be in that spirit of being able to get this work done safely. So patience is going to prevail. it's this is a a once in a generational time, if you will, to be able to advance these projects. So we want to be we want to be known for getting the projects completed, but more importantly, completed safely. And then just you mentioned, I was when you were talking just a moment ago about congressional support and stuff like that. I just I've been in Virginia now, what, 16 years, and it's and every one of those years, there has been a tremendous amount of bipartisan support for rail. And I don't think you could go to every state or commonwealth and have that same reaction. So it's that, obviously, from a political perspective, there's been common ground found there. And so, continuing that support. And of course, the thing for myself, and I know others, is that keep talking to us, we keep talking to you, um, and keep sharing ideas, concepts, that type of stuff. And of course, we'll continue to listen to the passenger, uh, and make decisions based on that type of information, as we move forward. Again, in a safe, responsible way.
DJ?
Yeah, so I'm glad Rich mentioned safety, because that when you talk about what you all can do, what folks can do to support us, it's exciting. We have over a dozen projects that are on the cusp of being started and will be completed between now and 2030 at the end of phase two. And at the end of phase two, 2030, Long Bridge is done. We'll go from what was 5 trains a couple of years ago to 13 trains round trips. It's just a great story. However, it's not going to happen without sacrifice. And as we work to do this very quickly, we all have to remember that we are putting new infrastructure in alongside a railroad that runs trains all day long, every single day. And just like when you see highway construction, when you want to add that 5th lane, you're going to have to shut down lanes 3 and 4 for a while. And so it slows up a little bit. And Rich talked a little bit about this. We're already looking at schedules. How can we change the schedules so we can maximize the work window, but also keep getting people to go where they want to go? Safety is the most important thing. We talk about it at every meeting. We start every meeting with a safety briefing. We've got a great safety director at VPRA that keeps us honest, and in every conversation says, wait a second, is that safe? Is that safe? And we've got to focus on that, because it's amazing how quickly you lose support when you take an unsafe action, and we can't afford to do that. So look, what folks can keep doing. I mean, Danny, keep having these, because it's good for us to get the word out. I mean, we've got a bunch of questions in the chat that I started to answer, but if you could send those to us afterwards and we'll answer them, I think that would be great. Let us know what you're hearing. Let us know what we can do. Again, it's all about transparency. We just want to deliver these projects so we can give people the other transportation option. And as long as we keep on moving forward, I think we'll all be in good shape.
Thank you, DJ, and thank you, Rich, again. And thank you all for joining us. Please mark your calendars for March 27th. We'll have Jason Orthner with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, who will be joining us for another town hall, kind of talking about their projects in North Carolina. And also be on the lookout. I hear there is going to be a very good Virginia Amtrak deal coming up over the next couple days. So if you're interested in buying some train tickets, be on the lookout. And thank you all again for joining us. And thank you, DJ and Rich. You all have a great day.